Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. It is conference championship weekend. I'm here with Moody and Isaiah. How we doing today, guys?
What's good, y'all? How y'all doing? Happy Friday. Football season's almost done. Shed a tear for that.
Yeah, sad to see it go, but it's also the most important and most fun time of the year. It's the championship Sunday. This is when the pressure is at its highest. Really, Troy Aikman even said it's more pressure than the Super Bowl.
Yes, most of the folding I've seen in my lifetime has happened. The biggest folds have happened during this week, as in, anniversary of the Kyle Williams game today. There's something crazy gonna happen this weekend, and that's all we want to see. But how you doing today, Eric?
Not too bad. So let's get it started. Cincinnati going to Kansas City. Kansas City -7.5 right now. Over under 54.5.
Well, the theme of rematches continues in the playoffs as we get two regular season rematches here on Championship Sunday, starting off with Cincinnati and Kansas City. Cincinnati beat them last time at home. High-scoring affair. For whatever reason, Kansas City thought the game plan was to guard Ja'Marr Chase one-on-one, and he destroyed them all day. And Kansas City, they did whatever they wanted on offense. They just couldn't seem to close the door on Cincinnati. But now the venue's different. They're in Kansas City. This is the biggest game of Cincinnati's franchise history, you could argue. There's never been more pressure on them than there is going to be on.
They've been to the Super Bowl before.
That was in the 80s. That's a whole
of our lifetime.
Eras ago.
Just our lifetime. Just our lifetime.
That feels like eons ago. So just the way that it is now,
there was a 2018 league.
14 games. That's how long.
6 they were playing 16.
In the early 80s.
They went in the late 80s. Maybe the mid 80s. They went in the mid. Yes,
it's been a long time.
Ever since the 80s when they went. Yeah, you get.
It's been a long time. You get the point. It's been a long time. I love the matchup here. I think we're gonna get a really, really nice scoring affair because Cincinnati on offense has shown the ability to play up the competition, and I don't think that Kansas City will be able to rush the passer the way that Tennessee was able to rush the passer to slow down their offense. They can rush the passer, but it's not as good as Tennessee's is. And then I think Cincinnati will be able to run the football a little bit more. Obviously, Derrick Henry wasn't really ready. Coming back off the injury, D'Onta Foreman is D'Onta Foreman. I think Joe Mixon will be
great in that game, though. D'Onta Foreman was great in that game.
But you can tell Tennessee didn't really want to put the game in the hands of D'Onta Foreman.
He fumbles.
That's what I'm saying. Joe Mixon, I think they'll definitely trust to get 20-plus touches in this one. I like Cincinnati to cover here, the 7.5. I think they've shown a really, really good ability to play up or down to competition, and I think this is a game they will play up for. Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase have shown when the game's in its biggest moments and the highest pressure, they play at their best. They show up and ball out. Kansas City, I think will answer too. Patrick Mahomes have scored 30 in every single home playoff game he's played in. This is going to be a really, really fun affair between two elite quarterbacks, high-scoring offenses, coaches that want to put points on the board, and defenses that can be solid and can get stops. But I think when in the fourth quarter, like last week, when the offenses know they need to score, I think the offense will be able to put the points on the board. I like Cincinnati to cover here. 7.5, I think, is just a little too big for a team that I believe in more and more now, often now in Cincinnati. I think they'll show up on the road and be able to keep the game competitive, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, who do you think? I'm going to say it right off the back. I think Kansas City will win. I seen the stat. Patrick Mahomes is undefeated in the playoffs versus any quarterback.
Not named Tom
Brady. So I could ride with that. I think the Chiefs will win. I just think 7.5 is too big, like you said. I think the Bengals offense is going to be good enough. Now I think we know for sure that Kansas City will probably have a better game plan. Their pass rush has picked it up with Chris Jones and Frank Clark, and who they get from Pittsburgh? Melvin Ingram. So they got some pass rushers. So I'm going to bank on that. I'm going to take Kansas City to cover because I just think that they're gonna come out with motivation, and they're home, and they're not gonna beat the Bills like they did last week to let down this week. They just don't do that in the Mahomes era. I think they're reaching their stride. I don't know if their defense is great. The Tyrann Mathieu injury, we'll see how that works out, because if he's not playing, then it'll make Cincinnati's chance of keeping up with them even better. But I know it's tough to go against Joe Burrow to Ja'Marr Chase, but I'm just going to go with the experience here. And I'm going to take Kansas City to win and to cover. And I'm saying that unconfidently, but that's what I'm going to rock with. Eric, go ahead.
Over-under?
Over-under? I'm going to take the under because that's just so many points. And last week we saw that Bills Chiefs game probably would have been under if it wasn't for like the last minute
There
alone.
were half the points were scored the last 2 minutes of the game.
So I'm gonna take the under because this is gonna be like last week. This is gonna be a possession game where both teams try to use their offense as a defense and try to keep the other offense off the field. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking Cincinnati to cover the spread at least. The one thing I think people aren't talking about enough is the emotional letdown for the Chiefs in this spot. I know it's still the AFC Championship game, but like all of their chips emotionally were into that Buffalo game. So they could come out a little flat, but I still like Cincinnati with this. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, is a massive impact on the game if he can play or not. Has he been participating in practice at all this week?
He's questionable.
Yeah.
We aren't going to know right now if he's playing on Sunday. He's at least that kind of questionable.
Well, I'll still definitely take Cincinnati to cover. I'll take the over in this one just because I think at least one of them scoring 30. Least one.
Like,
so
in every scenario I played in my head, I was like, the lowest score I could think is like 30-27. And that's still the over. So like,
yeah,
I really couldn't go.
I
with
think
the
we're
under.
gonna get a game like Super Bowl 54, where Kansas City falls behind early,
A slight under,
and they still storm back to cover and hit the other.
but I think if Joe Burrow's trying to hit that throw,
We'll worry about that. We'll worry about that.
Getting hit.
We'll worry about that later, especially since we'll probably be the Jamar Chase who can run under, who has a better chance of running under it. But I'm taking Kansas City to cover. You guys are going with Cincinnati, but I'm taking Kansas City to win outright. Are y'all also taking Cincinnati since you're picking them to cover to win?
I do like what Eric's saying about the letdown thing. That's one of the reasons why I do think this will be competitive. But you got to go with experience in a moment like this. So I'll take Kansas City to win the game outright.
yeah. I would be singing a different tune if Green Bay won in the NFC because I would be wanting all my chips would be in on Kansas City and Green Bay. So I still definitely think Kansas City is going to win this game, but I think it's going to be in a close margin. It being 7.5 is massive. If it was 7 or lower, I might not take it, but the 7.5 is what's getting me to take it. All right,
Okay.
let's move on. We're going to LA. It's crazy the possibility of having 2 seasons where the home stadium of the Super Bowl gets it after however long of it never happening. But
I mean, I've been calling it all year. Just one of my teams just didn't even get a chance. Poor Justin.
Well, yeah, so we got San Francisco coming to LA. Rams 3.5 point favorites over under 45.5.
The storyline's pretty simple here. Sean McVay finally beat San Francisco and get over the hump. Like that's really all there is to it. Another rematch in the theme of rematches in these playoffs. San Francisco swept LAR in the regular season, won the first game handily, won the second one in overtime.
On lots of finesse.
And again, the LAR just refused to put them away. And LAR, I hope y'all don't regret it. I hope y'all don't look back on weeks 18 and see that you had the opportunity to just end a division rival season and you chose not to. And now that it's going to rear its ugly head in the AL Conference Championship game.
Would you have preferred to watch the Saints in the playoffs?
That's different. Well, personally, I said yes, because that means we wouldn't have played San Francisco in the first round. So yeah, obviously I would.
I'm cool with it.
Take away bias aside, LAR. This is the golden opportunity. You're the 4 seed hosting the conference championship game. You're gonna get a chance to. You're not gonna have to leave again to go win the Super Bowl at home. I think.
Is this the second time we're seeing that where a 4 seed's hosting a NFC championship game?
The
last time was the Cardinals.
The NFC is always wild. I don't think San Francisco is good enough to beat LAR for a third time, and that's really my only logic to picking at LAR to win this football game. There could be plenty of analysis about how San Francisco secondary is bad. I don't know how they'll be able to hold up on pass protection for Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Donald's ability to sew up the run game, all that. But it's really just can you see San Francisco beating LAR 3 times in the same season and just ending their season right here on the road? I don't see it that way. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been playing good enough football for me to feel like he can win a road game in this account, even though it'll be a San Fran home game, honestly. But I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo's playing well enough to overcome Aaron Donald and Von Miller being on his ass all day. I think he'll turn the ball over a couple of times, and I think that'll open up the door for LAR to finally put their foot on his throat and put him away here. I'll take LAR to cover, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you said, tough because Sean McVay has struggled to beat Shanahan, but in the end, I think that's what I'm going to use to bank when I go with LAR. There's just no way you're going to tell me LAR, who's been this great organization, great team for like 3-4 in the Sean McVay era, and they've never beaten a Kyle Shanahan team, and some of those teams weren't even really good, led by Nick Mullen-like players or
They don't beat them. It doesn't matter who's playing. They don't.
So that's why I'm going to lean with going towards LAR covering. I think this is going to be like I'll say the same thing about last week against Tampa Bay. LAR is going to have to mess up the game pretty badly for San Francisco to even probably be in it, because in the end, I think Aaron Donald and Von Miller will give problems to that offensive line of San Francisco, which is a good offensive line. But we saw a couple guys on the right side. I think McGlinchey getting pumped out a little bit last week. So they could be got. Trent Williams versus Von Miller, that'll be interesting, but I think they'll just flip sides and put Von Miller on the other side to avoid Trent Williams. But Trent Williams is having an amazing season, and he's going to protect that blind side for Jimmy. But like you said, Jimmy Garoppolo's been playing so poorly. I just can't take – it's hard to – Jimmy Garoppolo's let me down enough to know that I'm not going to ride him out until the wheels fall off. Shanahan might have a game plan for them, but I just think this is Sean McVay's chance, and I don't think the Rams came this far to go home. I will say watch out for the matchup of where they're lining up Jalen Ramsey, because he's actually been getting cooked and torched the last few weeks badly. He struggled against Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel in that last game, so I think him playing a big game, he's going to have to step up and bring it, because he's one of the higher paid players and he's expected to be the best player. But I'm going to bank with Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, and Aaron Donald to single-handedly probably win this game for the Rams, and let Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford do the heavy lifting on offense.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Rams to cover, and I'll take the under.
Moody, you took the over, right?
Yeah, it's the over.
Okay, I'm just filling out the spreadsheet. But I will also go Rams in this situation. I just think being at home, for some reason they were restricting 49ers fans from getting tickets. Because
think about that. San Francisco's right there by LA. That's a big.
And it's really not right there, but it's LA don't have any fans, so it's might as well be right there, because San Fran's gonna have all their fans in the building.
Teams like LA, like San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Green Bay, when they go to LA, they're gonna flood that building because those are popular fan bases. And I'm sorry, LA is a nice place to live and visit, so there's no reason not to try that. But continue, Eric.
Yeah, so I don't think that's a disadvantage for the Rams, because I don't know how their home field advantage is going to be exactly, but I still think they're a more talented team than the San Francisco 49ers. So I'll take the Rams, and I'll take the under as well. I think one team is going to struggle to score.
I mean, yeah, cool. I mean, any bold predictions for this conference championship game?
The problem is we've seen these matchups before, so it's just so hard to feel like if anything too crazy is gonna occur here. If I had to guess, I probably think that I think the others in the Cincinnati game will be the stars for them. I think Spagnuolo will not make the same mistake twice and throw some attention at Jamar Chase. So I'll say T. Higgins, Boyd, Joe Mixon, they combined for 4 touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs.
4? I guess my one I'm going to go with is that for as good as a competitive week we got last week in the divisional round, I expect it to be the exact opposite. Like I expect both games to be handled by the favorites, and we worry about getting some great competitive football in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to go on the terms of Moody on mine, but not to the 4 touchdowns, but just seeing what Kansas City does differently in the secondary to prevent Chase from doing what he did. I think that's going to show volumes on – because I was going to say, Jamar Chase, like 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, like whatever, but it'll be very interesting to see. But he's already done that against that team, so we'll see what they do defensively.
If they guard Chase one-on-one, they lose. They lose on Sunday if they guard him one-on-one. So I'm assuming that Spagnuolo going to have a better game plan.
All right, then. I mean, got to enjoy it. This is second to last week of meaningful football, which is, that's just sad to think of. But, yeah. All right, Eric.
Man.